The silent thread. Her name was Lila, and from the moment she was 16, her heart had only one address. It was the fall of 2008, the first week of junior year at Ridgewood High. Lila sat 3 rows behind Ethan Harper in AP English, and the world quietly rearranged itself around him. He wasn't the loudest or the tallest or the most popular. He was simply Ethan, dark hair that fell into his eyes when he laughed, a voice that carried the kind of gentle confidence that made people lean in to listen. He read poetry like it mattered, like every line was a secret meant only for him. Lila never spoke to him, not once. She simply memorized the way he tapped his pencil against his notebook when he was thinking, the small scar above his left eyebrow, the way he always thanked the janitor by name. She told herself it was enough. By senior year, boys asked her out in the hallway, at football games, in notes slipped into her locker. She turned them all down with the same soft, distant smile. "I'm not really dating right now," she would say, and they believed her because Lila was kind and pretty and seemed to be waiting for something better than any of them. No one guessed the truth. Her heart was already spoken for by a boy who had never once looked at her the way she looked at him. Graduation came. Ethan gave the valedictorian speech and thanked his family, his teachers, and everyone who ever made me feel seen. Lila sat in the audience clutching her diploma, tears sliding down her cheeks, because she knew she was the only one who would never be seen by him. They both ended up at the same state university 2 hours away. Lila chose it because he did. She never told a soul. She majored in literature, the same as him, and arranged her schedule so their paths crossed in the quad, in the library, at the coffee shop where he worked part-time. Sometimes he would nod politely when he passed her in the stacks. "Hey, you were in English with me, right?" And Lila would manage a small "yeah" before her voice failed. She kept every accidental glance like a pressed flower between the pages of her diary. In her junior year of college, Ethan started dating Claire, a bright-eyed theatre major with a loud laugh. Lila watched them from across the student union, the way Claire rested her head on his shoulder, the way Ethan's hand found the small of her back without thinking. That night, Lila wrote in her journal until the pen tore through the paper. "I am not jealous of her joy. I'm grateful he has it." Then she closed the book, put on her coat, and walked home through the snow alone. She dated no one. Not in college. Not after. After graduation, Ethan moved to the city for law school. Lila took a quiet job as a children's librarian in the same town where they had grown up. She told her parents it was because she loved the old oak trees and the river path. They never suspected the truth, the apartment. The apartment she chose had a window that looked toward the highway he would take when he came home for holidays. Years folded over one another like pages. She heard through mutual friends that Ethan had proposed to Claire on a rooftop at sunset. She bought a small bottle of champagne that night, toasted the empty kitchen, and whispered, "Be happy, Ethan. Please be happy." She did not cry until after midnight. When their first child was born, a little girl named Sophie, Lila sent an anonymous bouquet of white roses to the hospital with a card that read only, "Congratulations to a beautiful family." She never signed it. She turned 30, then 35. Her mother worried. Her friends set her up on blind dates. Lila went to 3 of them, smiled politely, and came home to light a candle and reread the same worn copy of The Great Gatsby, because Ethan had once said in class that he loved the green light at the end of the dock. She had highlighted the passage in her own book that same afternoon, 14 years earlier. She never stopped loving him. It was not dramatic or loud. It was simply the steady current beneath every ordinary day. She shelved picture books for other people's children and imagined Ethan reading them bedtime stories. She planted tulips in her tiny backyard because she remembered he once said they were his favorite. She kept her hair long the way he had once complimented a girl in their high school hallway, even though no one else ever noticed. One crisp October afternoon when she was 32, Lila was walking the river path near the old high school, her weekly ritual when she saw him. Ethan was pushing a double stroller. A boy of about 6 walked beside him, chattering about dinosaurs. Sophie, now 10, skipped ahead tossing acorns. Claire walked beside Ethan, laughing at something he had just said, her hand tucked into the crook of his elbow the way it had been for 15 years. They looked happy in the way people look happy when life has settled gently around them. Lila stopped behind an old maple tree, heart hammering so loudly she was sure they would hear it. Ethan glanced in her direction for half a second. Their eyes met across the 20 yards of fallen leaves. He gave the small, polite nod of someone who thinks they might recognize a face but cannot place it. Then he turned back to his son, ruffled the boy's hair, and kept walking. Lila stayed behind the tree until they were gone. She pressed her forehead against the rough bark and whispered the words she had carried for 26 years. I loved you every single day. She did not follow them. She did not cry. She simply stood there until the autumn light grew thin and gold, then walked home with the quiet dignity of someone who has already lived the only love story she ever needed. Years later, when Lila was in her late 30s and the town library had named its children's reading room after her, a young reporter from the local paper came to interview her for a feature on lifelong volunteers. At the end of the conversation, the reporter asked, gently, "Did you ever marry? Ever fall in love?" Lila smiled the same soft, distant smile she had perfected in high school hallways. "Oh yes," she said. "I fell in love once. It was the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me." The reporter waited for more. Lila only sipped her tea and looked out the window toward the river path where the maple tree still stood. She never told the story, she never needed to, because somewhere, in a house filled with children's laughter and the smell of pancakes on Sunday mornings, Ethan Harper lived an ordinary, happy life, never knowing that across town, in a little apartment above the library, another heart had kept him safe and cherished for an entire lifetime, without ever asking for anything in return. And that, Lila believed, was love at its purest, not possession, not even recognition. Just the quiet, endless willingness to let someone else be happy, even if it meant you walked alone beneath the same sky. She closed her eyes that night, the same way she had every night since she was 16, and whispered the only prayer she had ever known. "Good night, Ethan. I'm still here, still loving you." Outside, the stars kept their ancient silence, and somewhere in the dark, the green light at the end of the dock still burned for anyone brave enough to love without ever being loved back.